In recent years, there has been a troubling decline in Mass attendance across dioceses in the United States. This decline, especially evident in urban and rural areas alike, has raised many questions regarding the spiritual health of the Catholic community. It is important to examine the root causes behind this trend, which range from changes in religious practices and population shifts to the profound impact of social issues like the COVID-19 pandemic. Understanding these factors is essential in recognizing the challenges facing the Church today. The importance of the Mass cannot be overstated. It is not merely a ritualistic act of worship, but the very heart of the Catholic faith. The Mass is a communal experience, a place where believers come together to connect with God, strengthen their faith, and uphold the sacred traditions passed down through the centuries. The Eucharist, the source and summit of Christian life, is at the core of this communal act, and the participation of the faithful in this sacrament is vital to the vitality of the Church. Without a strong presence at Mass, the sense of community begins to fray, and with it, so too does the faith of the people. The decline in Mass attendance has far-reaching consequences. First and foremost, it leads to a weakening of faith. Many parishioners, feeling disconnected from the Church, begin to lose their sense of belonging, resulting in a gradual decline in their religious practices and beliefs. This erosion of faith has ripple effects, not just in individual lives, but in the larger ecclesial community. The financial health of parishes also suffers as fewer people attending Mass translates to lower collections, which in turn limits the ability of parishes to fund religious education programs, charitable outreach, and the maintenance of church buildings. Additionally, the decline in Mass attendance has led to a reduction in the number of priests and church staff. Fewer parishioners mean fewer resources, and this scarcity directly impacts the pastoral care available to the faithful. As a result, some dioceses have been forced to make the difficult decision to close smaller churches and consolidate parishes. While this may save money in the short term, it comes at the expense of the deeply rooted connection that many Catholics feel to their local church. The emotional and spiritual toll on communities that lose their church buildings cannot be understated. For some, these closures are seen as an abandonment of the cherished faith traditions that have been passed down through generations. The long-term effects of these decisions are still unfolding, but one thing is clear: the Church must find ways to adapt to this new reality without sacrificing the spiritual foundation that has sustained it for centuries. It is a difficult balancing act, but one that requires both compassion and courage. As we move forward, it is crucial to recognize that the essence of the Church is not the building, but the community of believers who come together in worship. The challenge then is to nurture that community, even as the landscape of the Church continues to change. The closure of St. Anne's Church in Baltimore is a profound and poignant event, one that stirs deep emotions among the faithful, especially those who have called this church home for generations. Established 150 years ago, St. Anne's is more than just a building. It is the spiritual heart of the community, a center of worship, education, and cultural activity. Its 150th anniversary was meant to be a moment of reflection and gratitude, a time to celebrate the rich history of the Church and the countless lives it has touched. Unfortunately, this significant milestone is now overshadowed by the decision to close its doors. The 150-year history of St. Anne's is not just a story of brick and mortar, but of faith, community, and resilience. For over a century and a half, the Church has been a sanctuary for the faithful, a place where families gathered for baptism, communion, confirmation, and the sacred rite of the Eucharist. It has been a spiritual home where generations came together to pray, to mourn, and to celebrate. The Church's anniversary was meant to honor this deep legacy, the enduring commitment of the priests and lay people who served there, and the vibrant community that was nurtured within its walls. However, the decision to close St. Anne's came as a shock to many. In the face of declining attendance at Mass and financial difficulties, the Archdiocese of Baltimore determined that the church's closure was necessary to optimize resources and reduce costs. While the decision may have been made with the intent to ensure the long-term sustainability of the diocese, it left many of the church's long-standing parishioners feeling betrayed. To them, St. Anne's was not just a building, it was a living symbol of their faith, a repository of cherished memories, and a place where their spiritual lives were nurtured. The decision to close the church, especially after such a significant anniversary, raised a host of emotions within the community. Many parishioners felt the loss deeply, not just in a material sense, but on a spiritual level. The church had been a place of connection not only to God but to one another. It had provided a space for fellowship, for social events, and for religious education. It was a hub where people from all walks of life came together to form lasting bonds, to support one another in times of need, and to share in the joys and sorrows of life. For those who had spent their entire lives at St. Anne's, the closure felt like a severing of ties with their spiritual heritage. It was not just the loss of a physical space, but the loss of a community, a loss of identity. In the absence of the church, many wondered where they would turn for spiritual support and guidance. Without the familiar place where they had encountered God and one another, they feared the erosion of the deep sense of belonging that had been cultivated over generations. In response to the closure, some parishioners organized protests and community meetings to voice their opposition to the decision. They called for alternative solutions, for a way to keep the church open and preserve its role in the community. These protests were not just about saving a building, they were about preserving a legacy, a way of life, and a source of spiritual strength that had sustained them for decades. The fight to keep St. Anne's open is, at its core, a fight to preserve the bonds of faith and community that have been forged within its walls. The closure of St. Anne's also raises important questions about the future of the Church in the modern world. In a time when many are questioning the relevance of organized religion, the closure of a historic church is a stark reminder of the challenges faced by religious institutions. However, it also serves as a powerful testimony to the enduring power of faith and community. The closing of St. Anne's may mark the end of an era, but it is also an opportunity for the faithful to reflect on the importance of their spiritual homes and to seek new ways to nurture and sustain their connection to God and one another. In the end, the loss of St. Anne's Church is not just a loss for the local community, but for the broader church as a whole. It reminds us that our churches are not just buildings, but living testimonies of the faith that binds us together. They are sacred spaces where we encounter God, where we find strength in our shared beliefs, and where we are reminded of the importance of community in the life of the church. As we move forward, we must ensure that these communities are not forgotten, that the lessons of the past are carried forward, and that the light of faith continues to shine brightly in our hearts and in our lives. The Archdiocese of Baltimore has embarked on an ambitious restructuring plan known as Seek the City to Come. This strategic initiative is designed to address the challenges faced by the Archdiocese, particularly in relation to declining mass attendance and financial difficulties. However, the plan is not merely a response to these immediate issues. It represents a long-term vision for revitalizing the faith communities, ensuring their sustainability for future generations, and fostering a more vibrant spiritual life in the Archdiocese. The primary goal of Seek the City to Come is to create stronger, more resilient faith communities by restructuring and consolidating parishes. This vision aims to make these communities more flexible, accessible, and interconnected, fostering a sense of unity among believers. It recognizes that traditional models of parish life may no longer meet the needs of the modern faithful. Thus, the plan emphasizes not only the merging of parishes but also the creation of new faith communities that are dynamic, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of the people they serve. At its core, the plan seeks to ensure that these new faith communities are not simply places where people attend Mass, but are hubs of spiritual growth, learning, and social engagement. Through educational programs, faith-based discussions, and social activities, these communities will provide opportunities for parishioners to deepen their relationship with Christ and each other. The vision is clear: to create communities that go beyond the confines of Sunday worship and become an integral part of the everyday lives of the faithful. Another critical element of the plan is its emphasis on better serving the spiritual and material needs of the faithful. By consolidating parishes and resources, the Archdiocese can allocate its funds and staff more effectively, allowing for more robust spiritual and social services. This will also create new spaces and opportunities for parishioners to gather, pray, and engage in outreach efforts to serve those in need. This holistic approach aims to build stronger, more sustainable communities capable of supporting each other through the challenges of the modern world. Yet the success of this restructuring will depend on more than just logistical changes. It will require a great deal of creativity, initiative, and courage from church leaders and parishioners alike. The restructuring is not simply about rearranging the physical spaces where people gather. It is about reimagining what parish life can be in the 21st century. This reimagination will require leaders to be bold in their vision and willing to challenge long-standing traditions in favor of more effective ways of living out the faith. Indeed, it is the courage to embrace change that is perhaps the most vital ingredient in the success of Seek the City to Come. In order to carry out the plan, church leaders must be willing to confront the discomfort and resistance that often accompanies significant change. While some may mourn the loss of traditional parishes or feel a sense of spiritual displacement, the hope is that these changes will ultimately lead to stronger, more unified communities of faith. The boldness to innovate and the determination to make the Church more relevant to contemporary society will be key to realizing the plan's full potential. A pivotal part of this restructuring is the merging of 61 parishes into 30 worship sites. This move is aimed at reducing costs and optimizing resources, ultimately enhancing the effectiveness of ministry in the Archdiocese. While some might view this consolidation as a challenge, it is an essential step toward ensuring the continued vitality of the Church in the region. It is a reflection of the Archdiocese's commitment to fostering a more sustainable model of faith, one that is both fiscally responsible and spiritually nourishing. One particularly significant and controversial aspect of the restructuring is the merger of St. Anne's Church, one of the oldest parishes in Baltimore, with St. Francis Xavier and several other parishes. This decision has sparked considerable debate within the community, as St. Anne's has deep historical and emotional ties for many parishioners. However, the Archdiocese's leaders assert that this merger is necessary for the long-term health and growth of the faith community, and they are committed to preserving the legacy of St. Anne's while embracing the opportunities presented by the new structure. As the merger progresses, these consolidated churches will not simply continue to offer religious services, but will become community centers in their own right. They will host educational programs, spiritual development activities, and social events that foster a strong sense of community among parishioners. While some may initially feel a sense of loss, these new faith communities will provide fresh opportunities for individuals to engage in the life of the Church in meaningful and transformative ways. In conclusion, Seek the City to Come represents a bold, visionary approach to reshaping parish life in the Archdiocese of Baltimore. It is a plan that values creativity, initiative, and courage, and it is grounded in the desire to build stronger, more vibrant communities of faith for the future. As the Archdiocese moves forward with this plan, it is hopeful that these changes will not only address the current challenges, but will also lay the foundation for a renewed, dynamic church that can thrive in the years to come. In the midst of our rapidly changing world, one thing remains certain: the church must continue to evolve, not just to survive, but to thrive and effectively serve its people. This is why the Archdiocese of Baltimore, in response to the challenges it faces, both financial and spiritual, has undertaken a bold and visionary plan called Seek the City to Come. This plan is a strategic response to the shifting realities of modern church life, where decreasing mass attendance and financial pressures have led to an urgent need for rethinking how the church can best serve its people. The ultimate goal of the Seek the City to Come initiative is clear: to build stronger, more sustainable faith communities. Rather than being merely a reaction to present challenges, this plan is a long-term vision designed to reshape and renew the way Baltimore's parishes function. At its core, it is about reimagining the church's role in people's lives, not just as a place of worship, but as a living, breathing community that offers spiritual and social support, education, and a sense of belonging. This restructuring does not mean simply merging parishes for the sake of financial efficiency. Rather, it is about creating vibrant new communities of faith centered around the needs of the modern believer. These new faith communities will not only gather for Mass, but will also engage in a variety of other activities that promote spiritual growth and community bonding. They will provide opportunities for faith education, discussions on theological matters, and social events that strengthen relationships among parishioners. These initiatives will help ensure that the faith lives on in a meaningful way for generations to come. To truly thrive, the church must be flexible and accessible. The Seek the City to Come plan calls for the creation of faith communities that are not bound by traditional models. These communities will be dynamic, able to meet the diverse needs of today's Catholics. From online faith education programs to parish-wide social outreach projects, the goal is to ensure that people feel welcomed, supported, and connected, no matter their background or circumstances. This approach is not merely about numbers, it is about building relationships that last a lifetime and fostering environments where people can grow in their faith together. One of the most important aspects of this plan is its call for creativity, initiative, and courage in reimagining parish life. It's clear that this effort will require more than just a logistical reshuffling of church boundaries. It will require a deep and bold transformation of the way we think about our faith communities. The changes being proposed challenge the status quo and ask parishioners and clergy alike to imagine something new. There will be new programs, new spaces for worship, and new ways to connect with one another. But this is not a call for change's sake. It is a call to breathe new life into our communities to ensure they are sustainable and spiritually fulfilling for the generations that follow. The process of merging parishes is one of the most visible elements of the plan. The Archdiocese has decided to consolidate 61 parishes into 30 locations of worship and service. This decision, while necessary, will not be without its challenges. For some, this may feel like the loss of a part of their spiritual identity, especially in the case of long-standing churches like St. Anne's. St. Anne's, one of the oldest parishes in Baltimore, will be merged with St. Francis Xavier and other parishes in the area. This decision has not been met without some controversy, as it touches on deep emotions and attachments to the traditions that have shaped these communities for decades. However, the merger of parishes is not about eliminating the past. Rather, it is about creating a stronger future. The newly merged parishes will continue to serve as places of worship, but they will also become hubs of community activity and engagement. By consolidating resources and efforts, these faith communities will be better equipped to serve the needs of their parishioners. The goal is not only to sustain but to enrich the faith lives of all involved. There will be those who feel a sense of loss, particularly as the unique culture of each parish merges into something new. But this is also an opportunity for growth, to create new spaces where Catholics can learn, share, and serve together. The plan emphasizes that while change is never easy, it is necessary for the Church to remain vibrant and relevant in a world that constantly evolves. In the end, Seek the City to Come is more than just a plan. It is a call to action. It calls for courage in the face of uncertainty, creativity in addressing the needs of modern believers, and an unwavering commitment to building stronger, more connected faith communities. This is not just about adapting to a changing world, it is about ensuring that the Church remains a beacon of light, a place of healing, and a source of hope for all. As we step into this future, we do so with faith, knowing that the city to come is not just a distant dream, but a tangible reality we are building together. In the face of the challenges presented by declining church attendance, a shortage of priests, and the growing secularization of society, many dioceses across the United States are implementing restructuring plans aimed at revitalizing and preserving the Church's mission. Much like the Archdiocese of Baltimore, several other dioceses are taking similar steps in response to these pressing issues. This movement toward restructuring reflects a broader trend within the Catholic Church in America, as it seeks to adapt to the realities of the modern world while remaining faithful to its mission and core values. Large dioceses such as St. Louis, Seattle, New Orleans, Chicago, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh are all in the process of restructuring their administrative frameworks and parish communities. The primary goals behind these restructuring efforts are the optimization of resources, reduction of costs, and an attempt to sustain the vitality of the faithful in a rapidly changing social context. These diocesan adjustments are not solely motivated by financial concerns. They are driven by a combination of factors, including the decrease in the number of priests, the growing secularization of society, and the ongoing crisis caused by the sexual abuse scandals that have rocked the Church in recent decades. The decline in priestly vocations is a significant factor in the restructuring efforts. Particularly in rural dioceses, the diminishing number of priests has led to the consolidation of parishes and religious institutions. This has been necessary in order to ensure that the Church can continue to provide the sacraments and pastoral care to the faithful despite a shortage of clergy. The lack of priests is perhaps one of the most pressing challenges, as it forces dioceses to consider alternative ways of maintaining a pastoral presence without overburdening their limited human resources. At the same time, the rise of secularization has further complicated matters. As society becomes increasingly secular, fewer people attend Mass regularly, and many in the younger generation are less engaged with religious practices. This shift has led to a decline in the number of active parishioners, which in turn impacts the financial viability of smaller parishes. For many dioceses, the restructuring process aims not only to address financial issues, but also to find ways to revitalize the faith community and re-engage the faithful with their spiritual lives. The reduction in Mass attendance is a sobering reflection of the secularization of the wider society, and it is clear that the Church must find innovative ways to remain relevant in the modern world. The sexual abuse scandals within the Church have also had a profound effect on the relationship between the Church and its people. These scandals have deeply damaged the trust and credibility of the clergy, leading many Catholics to question the integrity of the institution itself. As a result, dioceses have been compelled to undergo significant reforms not only in their structure, but also in their approach to leadership, accountability, and transparency. It is clear that healing from this crisis will require a long and arduous process, one that will require the Church to rebuild trust and demonstrate its commitment to the well-being and dignity of every individual. One example of these restructuring efforts can be seen in Pittsburgh, where Bishop David Zubik has implemented the On Mission for the Church Alive plan. This initiative is a long-term strategy aimed at revitalizing the parishes in the diocese and addressing the challenges posed by the decline in vocations, secularization, and the need for a more sustainable financial model. The plan seeks to merge smaller parishes and strengthen larger ones, ensuring that the Church can continue to meet the spiritual needs of its community while reducing unnecessary costs. The goal is to create a more vibrant and flexible Church that is better equipped to serve the needs of the faithful in the 21st century. As part of this restructuring process, the number of parishes in Pittsburgh has been reduced from 188 to just 60. This consolidation of parishes is not without its emotional toll, as many parishioners are forced to let go of the churches they have attended for years. However, Bishop Zubik and the diocese emphasize that the primary goal is not the preservation of physical buildings, but the deepening of the faith and the strengthening of the community. The relationship between the faithful and Christ is what truly matters, and the restructuring is a means of fostering a more robust and spiritually connected Church. This approach underscores the importance of shifting focus from the material aspect of the Church, such as physical buildings, to the spiritual bond between the faithful and Christ. The Church is not merely a collection of brick-and-mortar buildings, it is a living community of believers. By consolidating parishes and focusing on building stronger, more vibrant communities of faith, the Church aims to provide a more sustainable and spiritually enriching experience for its members. This transformation is essential if the Church is to thrive in the face of modern challenges and continue to fulfill its mission of spreading the gospel. In conclusion, the restructuring of dioceses across the United States is a necessary response to the challenges faced by the Catholic Church in the modern world. Whether through the consolidation of parishes, the optimization of resources, or the focus on revitalizing the spiritual life of the faithful, these efforts reflect the Church's commitment to adapting to the changing needs of society while remaining true to its mission. The relationship between the faithful and Christ is at the heart of this transformation, and it is through this renewed focus that the Church will continue to live and thrive in the 21st century. In the face of change, the Catholic community in Pittsburgh has responded to the On Mission for the Church Alive initiative with a range of emotions, yet a profound sense of hope and commitment to the faith shines through. This restructuring of the Church, while initially met with apprehension and resistance, has fostered a new vision for the community's future. The community's resilience and adaptability reflect the deeper spiritual transformation that can emerge from such reforms. In this process, Pittsburgh's Catholics have discovered that the true transformation lies not merely in the organizational structures, but in the revitalization of their collective faith. The overwhelming response from the faithful in Pittsburgh is one of cautious optimism. While the restructuring of parishes and realignment of resources initially sparked concern, the majority of responses have expressed trust in the direction the Church is heading. The faithful, in their prayers and reflections, understand that the strength of the Church is not only in its physical structures, but in its ability to inspire and nurture a living, breathing faith. The merger of parishes, rather than being seen as a loss, is perceived as an opportunity for growth and renewal, a chance to create larger, more vibrant faith communities. These larger communities can more effectively engage in social justice work, support the poor, and advance charitable causes, fulfilling the Church's call to serve the marginalized. As the community adjusts to these changes, there is a sense of revitalization, with many believers noting a stronger connection to Christ. The shifts in parish structures have allowed for deeper engagement, as Catholics now find themselves more connected with one another through shared worship and service. The focus has shifted from an isolated individual faith to a collective, communal experience, where bonds are forged through the common mission of living out Christ's love in action. In essence, Pittsburgh's restructuring has catalyzed the creation of more profound relationships with one another and with Christ. What has perhaps been most striking is the positive reception from the community to the changes taking place. Many have expressed that while these shifts have required adjustment, they believe such reforms are necessary for the vitality of the Church in the modern world. The awareness that the Church must adapt to the needs of contemporary society has led the faithful to approach these changes with a spirit of learning and flexibility. As long as the core of their faith remains strong, they are open to exploring new forms of worship and community life. The faithful understand that change is not always easy, but it is necessary for the growth of the Church and the preservation of the gospel message. Furthermore, the integration of parishes is seen as an opportunity for broader development, not just in religious activities, but in outreach programs, educational initiatives, and social justice work. By bringing together the resources and people of multiple parishes, there is a greater capacity for charitable work, education, and service to those in need. Catholics in Pittsburgh are hopeful that this restructuring will allow for a more cohesive, united response to societal challenges, strengthening the Church's role as a beacon of hope in the community. One of the key reasons that the faithful are not afraid of these changes is their trust in the leadership of the Church. They believe in the wisdom of the bishops and priests who are guiding them through this transition. Though restructuring can be uncomfortable, they have confidence that the leadership will not only consider the logistical aspects of change, but will also maintain the spiritual and communal life that is essential to the Church. This trust fosters a sense of unity, even in the midst of uncertainty. Rather than fearing the loss of their beloved parishes and traditions, many Catholics see this as an opportunity to deepen their faith and broaden their community. The merging of parishes creates space for more dynamic, diverse opportunities for engagement, including social justice initiatives and educational programs. As the community bonds over these shared efforts, the sense of connection grows stronger. These changes, though difficult at times, are seen as part of a larger movement toward renewal and growth. Finally, there is a great sense of hope for the future, especially in terms of the creative possibilities this restructuring opens up. Catholics in Pittsburgh are optimistic about the potential for new forms of worship, innovative educational programs, and expanded charitable initiatives. The use of technology to connect members of the faith, the development of new ways to engage younger generations, and the reimagining of liturgical practices are all exciting prospects that many look forward to. Above all, they trust that this renewal will help the Church maintain its commitment to love, service, and compassion, even as it faces new challenges. In summary, the response of Pittsburgh's Catholic community to the On Mission for the Church Alive initiative reflects a deep faith in the leadership of the Church and a hopeful embrace of change. The faithful trust that these changes, though challenging, are ultimately for the good of the Church and the people it serves. Through this process of restructuring, the Church is finding new ways to strengthen its bonds with Christ and with each other, fostering a vibrant, dynamic faith community that is ready to face the future with hope and creativity. In Baltimore, a city that has long been a pillar of faith, the future of the Catholic Church is undergoing a profound transformation. As we witness the restructuring of the Archdiocese and the merging of parishes, there is a sense of hope rising from this moment of change. This is not merely a shift in the organizational structure of the Church, but an opportunity to rekindle the spirit of faith and community that has been the foundation of this city for centuries. The restructuring presents a chance to build a stronger, more resilient Church, one that is capable of addressing the challenges of the future while staying rooted in the timeless values of the gospel. As parishes unite, the Archdiocese envisions a vibrant community of believers who will work together across generational, ethnic, and linguistic divides to grow the kingdom of God. This new church will not simply be a place for worship, but a hub for education, charity, and community connection, extending the love of Christ to every corner of Baltimore. Perhaps most exciting is the opportunity to create a church that is not only inclusive, but truly reflective of the diversity of our world today. As the various parishes come together, there is hope for a community that embraces people from all walks of life, regardless of age, background, or language. It will be a place where all can find a welcoming home and feel the presence of Christ in their lives. The diversity that once seemed a challenge will in fact become the Church's greatest strength, enriching its mission and expanding its reach. The faithful of Baltimore, particularly those at St. Anne's, have felt the sting of this transition. The closing of St. Anne's Church, a beloved cornerstone of the community for generations, has caused deep sorrow. For many, the church was more than just a building. It was a symbol of community, a place where families gathered for worship, education, and fellowship. The thought of walking away from this sacred space is heart-wrenching. Yet amid this sadness, there is a profound truth. The church is not the building, but the people, the body of Christ. And though the closure of St. Anne's brings grief, it also brings unity, as the faithful find strength in one another and in their shared commitment to the church. Despite the pain of letting go, the people of St. Anne's have shown remarkable resilience. They continue to hold fast to their faith, understanding that the church's vitality does not depend on any one place, but on a living relationship with Jesus Christ. This deep, personal connection with Christ is what binds the community together, and it is what will sustain them as they move forward into this new chapter. Looking ahead, the faithful of St. Anne's, along with the broader Catholic community in Baltimore, hold on to the hope that this restructuring will bring new opportunities for growth and renewal. There is a shared belief that through this change, the church will become more unified, more dynamic, and more capable of fulfilling its mission in today's world. It is a hope for a church that is stronger, more inclusive, and ever faithful to the call of the gospel. And in this hope, the faithful find not just a vision for the future, but a renewed commitment to the work of Christ in their lives and in their city. The best is yet to come. As we look to the present and future of our churches and faith communities, we must acknowledge the challenges that lie ahead and the opportunities for renewal that arise in the midst of them. Many churches, especially smaller parishes with fewer attendees, are facing significant challenges such as declining mass attendance, a shortage of priests, and financial struggles. These challenges have led to the restructuring and consolidation of parishes in many dioceses, a decision aimed at maintaining the vitality of the church and ensuring that it continues to serve the community. This restructuring is not without its difficulties, as some parishioners may feel a sense of loss or discomfort with these changes. However, if carried out thoughtfully and with sensitivity to the needs of the faithful, restructuring can serve as an opportunity for the church to emerge stronger, more united, and better equipped to meet the needs of the modern world. The future of our faith communities will depend largely on the Church's ability to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of the modern world. While restructuring may create initial dissatisfaction, it can also be the catalyst for creating a more vibrant and cohesive church that is better aligned with the needs of the current generation. This requires a willingness to innovate and be flexible while still holding fast to the core values of our Catholic faith. In this way, we can build faith communities that are both grounded in tradition and open to new ways of reaching out to those in need. Innovation within our faith communities is critical to maintaining their vitality in the face of societal and cultural shifts. The Church must continue to evolve by building diverse, creative faith communities that still respect the rich heritage of Catholicism. This innovation may involve using technology to connect parishioners, offering online masses and faith formation programs, and finding new ways to reach out to younger generations. These efforts will help to ensure that our faith remains vibrant and relevant in a rapidly changing world. The restructuring of parishes presents a unique opportunity to improve religious life, strengthen community bonds, and deepen our faith. By consolidating parishes, we can offer more robust faith formation programs, create opportunities for more profound study, prayer, and discussion, and invigorate charitable and social activities. These efforts will help foster stronger, more connected communities where parishioners feel supported and encouraged in their spiritual journeys. Community events, faith discussions, and charitable outreach programs will not only enhance worship, but also build a deeper sense of belonging among the faithful. Furthermore, restructuring can provide a pathway for the Church to develop faith in modern society, a society that is rapidly evolving with shifting values and spiritual needs. Parishes can discover new ways to engage young people and younger generations, introducing them to the richness of the Catholic faith and ensuring that faith continues to be passed down from one generation to the next. It is my hope that our faith communities will find new ways to adapt and grow in this time of change. We must embrace innovation in our worship practices and communal activities, using technology to connect and reach those who may not be able to attend in person. As we accept change, we must remain committed to the fundamental values of Catholicism, ensuring that our communities are not only sustainable, but thriving for generations to come. Let us move forward with the confidence that through creativity and adaptability, our faith can endure and flourish in the face of all challenges. As we explore the future of our faith communities and the Church's role in a rapidly changing world, I invite you to stay connected and engaged with us here at Compatibility World. If you found today's discussion insightful and inspiring, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Together, let's continue to strengthen our faith and build a stronger community, one that adapts to the challenges of the present while remaining rooted in the timeless truths of our Catholic tradition. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts. I look forward to hearing from you.